It was a cold evening in the city of Novo. The wind blew sharp and strong between the tall glass buildings. People hurried through the streets, pulling their coats tighter, looking down to avoid the chill. Rain fell lightly, touching everything. With a wet shimmer, Ravi stood at the old bus stop near the edge of Sector 7. He had just finished a long 12-hour shift at the robot repair shop. His hands were greasy, and his fingers were sore from tightening bolts all day. He wore a thin hoodie, worn from years of use, and his shoes were damp from the wet ground. But Ravi didn't complain. He was used to it. The bus stop had no roof, only a rusted metal bench and a cracked digital schedule board.
The screen blinked,
Showing the bus was delayed again. Typical Ravi looked to his side and noticed someone standing quietly nearby. She was a woman, dressed in simple black clothes, hugging herself tightly. Her arms were wrapped around her body, and her short hair was wet from the rain. She didn't have an umbrella or coat. She looked like she didn't belong there. Her shoes were clean, her posture straight, and there was something calm and silent about her. She shivered, though she tried to hide it. Ravi hesitated for a moment, then slowly took off his hoodie. Underneath, he wore a plain gray shirt that wasn't enough for the weather, but he didn't mind. He stepped closer to the woman and said, "You look cold. Here, take this." She looked at him, surprised. Her eyes were sharp but soft at the same time. She didn't speak right away. "It's fine," Ravi added quickly. "I've got another one at home." She blinked, then gave a small nod. "Thank you," she said softly, taking the hoodie. Her voice was calm and clear, like someone who was used to giving orders, though she spoke gently. She put it on and smiled faintly, as if she wasn't used to people helping her. They stood silently for a while. The rain kept falling, and the lights of flying cars blinked in the distance above. "You work around here?" she asked after a minute. "Yeah," Ravi replied. "Robot repairs, nothing fancy." She nodded. "You like it?" Ravi shrugged. "It pays enough. I like fixing things." The woman didn't say much after that. Ravi didn't ask her name, and she didn't ask his. There was no need. The quiet was comfortable. A few minutes later, a black car floated down the road and stopped. In front of them, the car was sleek and clean, one of those high-end models only rich people used. The door opened by itself. The woman turned to Ravi, pulled the hoodie tighter around her, and said, "Thank you again. I won't forget this." Ravi smiled and said, "Take care." She stepped into the car, and it lifted smoothly into the sky. Disappearing into the night, Ravi stood alone at the bus stop, his shirt clinging to his skin, wet and cold. But he felt warm somehow. He didn't know who she was, but it felt good to help someone. A few minutes later, the bus finally arrived with a loud hiss and blinking lights. It was almost empty. Ravi stepped inside and sat near the back, close to the heater. As the bus moved through the rainy streets, Ravi looked out the window. The city lights flickered like stars, and somewhere far away, in a tall glass tower, the woman sat in her office, looking at the hoodie folded in her hands. Her name was Mira. She was the CEO of Novacor, the most powerful robotics company on Earth. She stared at the old hoodie, smelled of oil and metal. A small tear near the sleeve showed where it had been used for years. She smiled slightly. "No one's ever done that for me," she whispered. Her assistant stepped into the room. "Miss Mira, the board meeting is ready." Mira nodded. The hoodie gently on the side of her chair and stood. "Cancel the meeting. I have something more important in mind." It had been 5 days since Ravi gave his old hoodie to the shivering woman at the bus stop. He had almost forgotten about it. Life had returned to normal work, tea, fixing broken machines, and walking home in the evening. Ravi lived a simple life. He worked at AutoFix Tech Repairs, a small corner shop in Sector 7, every day. He repaired old robots, replaced wires, and cleaned machines that most people had forgotten. He didn't complain. He liked quiet work and honest pay. But everything changed on the 6th morning, when Ravi reached the shop. His manager, an old man named Danu, called him to the front counter. "There's a letter for you," Danu said, looking confused. "A real one, not a bill." Ravi blinked. "For me," Danu handed him a black envelope. It was thick, sealed with a silver mark on the back that looked like a triangle with a glowing eye in the middle. Ravi had never seen anything like it. He opened it carefully. Inside was a card that read, "You are invited to a private event hosted by NovaCore Industries. Time: tonight, 7 p.m. Location: Sky Tower 99, Sector 1. Your presence is important. Please bring this invitation." Ravi stared at it. NovaCore? That was the biggest robotics company in the world. Why would they send something like this to him? He looked at Dinu, who just raised his eyebrows. "Looks fancy," Dinu said. "Maybe." "You won a contest?" "I never entered one," Ravi replied. Still, something inside him whispered, "Go." That evening, Ravi changed into the cleanest clothes he owned: plain black pants, a white shirt, and a faded jacket. He brushed his hair and cleaned his shoes. He didn't look rich or powerful, but he looked decent. He took the train to Sector 1. It was the richest part of the city. The buildings there touched the clouds, and everything sparkled glass, steel. Even the air felt different. Sky Tower 99 stood in the middle of the city like a silver sword pointed at the stars. The front doors were huge, guarded by robots with golden armor. Ravi showed them his card, expecting to be turned away. But instead, the robot bowed and said, "Welcome, Mr. Ravi." He walked inside, unsure of what to expect. The lobby was shining and bright. A woman in a blue dress met him and guided him to a high-speed lift. The glass elevator rose so fast his ears popped. When the doors opened, Ravi found himself in a huge hall full of lights, music, and people in suits and fancy dresses. Everyone looked important. Ravi stood near the door, feeling out of place. He was about to turn around and leave when a voice behind him said, "You came." He turned and saw her, the same woman from the bus stop. But now, she looked completely different. She wore a smooth silver gown, and her short hair was neatly styled. Round her neck was a small badge that read, "Mira, CEO, NovaCore." Ravi stared in surprise. You're the CEO?" Mira nodded with a small smile. "Guess." But that night, at the bus stop, I was just someone cold and forgotten. Ravi scratched his head, unsure what to say. "I didn't know." "I know you didn't," she replied. "That's why it mattered. You helped me without knowing who I was. That's rare." Ravi looked around. "Why am I here? I don't belong with these people." Mira looked at him seriously. "That's where you're wrong. You have something they don't. Kindness, honesty, heart." She turned and gestured for him to follow. They walked into a smaller room where only a few people stood. On a table in the center was a strange object, a glowing cube, pulsed with soft blue light, and strange symbols moved across its surface. Ravi couldn't stop looking at it. "This," Myra said, "is why I invited you. We found this cube deep under one of our research stations. It's not human-made, and it's been sending signals. But none of our best scientists can understand it." Ravi looked confused. "Why me, then?" "Because," Mira said, "when I brought your jacket back to the lab 2 days ago, the cube started to glow brighter. And when I placed it near your jacket, it pulsed for the first time in weeks. We think it responded to you." Ravi stepped closer to the cube. It seemed to hum softly. He reached out his hand, and the symbols on the cube moved faster, glowing a warm, golden color. Mira's eyes widened. "It's never done that for anyone before." Ravi stepped back quickly. "I'm just a repairman." "Maybe," Myra said, "but maybe that's exactly why it chose you." They stood in silence for a moment, both staring at the cube. Then Myra said, "Ravi, I want you to join my team. Not as a worker, but as someone who might help us understand this. We don't know what this cube is, or what it wants. But I believe you're connected to it." Ravi was speechless. This morning he was fixing old robot arms. The CEO of NovaCore was asking him to work on a secret alien object. He looked at Mira. She wasn't smiling now. She was serious. "You want me on your team?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "Will you come?" Ravi took a deep breath. Then he nodded slowly. "All right, I'll do it." Mira smiled. "Yeah, good. Your new life begins tomorrow." The next morning, Ravi stood outside the NovaCore tower again. The wind was cold, But this time, he wore a new black jacket Mira had sent him. It was warm, comfortable, and very different from anything he had ever worn. He still missed his old hoodie, though. It had been part of his life for years. A voice from behind surprised him. "Good morning, Ravi." He turned and saw Mira. She wore a formal blue suit today and carried a digital tablet in one hand. But she smiled the same way she had at the bus stop. "Morning," Ravi said quietly. "Still not sure why I'm here? You'll understand." "Soon," she replied. "Come, let me show you around." They walked through the massive tower. The halls were filled with quiet machines, talking computers, and people in white coats. The walls were made of smooth glass and metal. Lights glowed softly above them. Everything looked advanced and clean. Ravi had never seen a place like this. Before they took a lift to the underground levels, the doors opened to a bright lab filled with strange tools and large screens showing moving symbols. In the center of the room sat the glowing cube. It rested on a glass platform surrounded by sensors and wires. But it still looked peaceful, like it was waiting. "This is the deep lab," Mira said. "Only a few people are allowed here." One of them now. Ravi stepped closer to the cube. It pulsed softly as if it recognized him. "The cube has been silent for months," Mira explained. "But after that night when you gave me your jacket, it came alive again. I believe it senses. Emotion, real emotion. Not calculation or control." "But I'm not a scientist," Ravi said. "I fix broken robot arms. That's all I know." Myra turned to him. "Maybe that's enough. Sometimes the best hands are not the ones with degrees, but the ones that understand what's inside." "The machine?" Ravi took a deep breath. "So what do I do?" "Sit with it. Watch it. Talk to it if you want," Mira said gently. "Just be yourself. We'll watch from the control room." Ravi nodded slowly and walked toward the cube. He sat on a small stool nearby. The cube continued to glow, and as he stared at it, he noticed something new. The lines of light across its surface were moving. It's not randomly, but in a pattern. He leaned forward, eyes focused. It's breathing," he said aloud. The cube pulsed once, brighter than before. Behind the glass, Mira and two engineers were watching the data screens. The sensors picked up an energy spike from the cube. One of the engineers spoke quickly. "Ma'am, the cube just increased its signal output by 200%. Mira's voice was calm. "Let him continue." Inside the room, Ravi spoke softly, almost to himself. "I don't know what you are, but I think you're trying to say something." Cube pulsed again, this time showing a soft light projection. Shapes appeared, stars, lines, circles floating above its surface like a small universe. Ravi's eyes widened. "It's showing me something." The light changed. A planet appeared. Then a red warning symbol blinked around it. Ravi stood. "Slowly, I think. I think it's a warning." In the control room, Mira's heart raced. "Record everything," she said to her team. Back in the lab, Ravi reached out a hand slowly. The cube responded with a glowing thread of light that touched his fingers. It didn't hurt, it felt warm. Suddenly, the room lights flickered. The cube made a soft hum, like a quiet song. Ravi whispered, "You were waiting for someone." Cube pulsed again, then went still. Mira entered the lab and walked toward him. "That was incredible. I didn't do anything," Ravi said. "You listened." "That's more than most people have done in years," she replied. One of the engineers ran into the lab holding a tablet. "We just decoded part of the signal. It's not a machine language. It's emotional patterns, coded feelings." The cube is alive. Not like us, but in a different way. Ravi looked at the cube with wonder. "It feels things?" "Yes," Mira said. "And I think it chose you because you feel too. You didn't ask for money or praise. You just gave your jacket." Smiled a little. It was cold. They laughed quietly. Then Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're part of something bigger now, Ravi. We don't fully understand it yet, but this is just the beginning." Later. That day, Ravi sat in the break room, drinking hot tea. He looked around at the new world he had entered. Scientists talking, Machines scanning, data flying across screens. He still felt out of place, but something inside him was changing. He wasn't just a repairman anymore. He was part of a mystery. He was part of something far beyond broken wires and loose bolts. He took a sip of tea and smiled to himself, and far away, deep in space, a distant receiver blinked. Something had awakened. The signal had been heard. 3 days had passed since the cube showed Ravi the strange planet and the red warning. Everyone at Novacor was now focused on one thing, the message hidden inside the cube. Ravi spent most of his time in the deep lab, sitting near the glowing object, observing it, talking to it, and learning its patterns. The cube didn't speak in words, but it showed him shapes, colors, and sounds. Sometimes he felt like it was sharing feelings more than facts. Each time Ravi came close, the cube responded brighter lights, faster symbols, stronger signals. Mira watched from the control room, amazed. "It really trusts him," she often said to the scientists. "He's the key." One night, as Ravi sat in the lab alone, the cube pulsed in a strange rhythm. A low humming filled the room, and for the first time, a voice echoed through the speakers. It was not a human voice. It was soft, layered, and full of echoes, till the message was clear. Warning. Movement. Beyond the stars. Danger. Ravi stood up, eyes wide. The cube was trying to speak. The lights in the lab dimmed, and a bright beam shot upward from the cube, forming a clear image in the air. It was a planet blue and green, much like Earth, but with rings around it. Then dark shapes appeared. In the space around the planet, many shapes. "Too many," Ravi whispered. "What are those?" The cube answered with one word. "Warships." Alarms blared across the lab. Mira and her team rushed in, looking at the floating image. One of the scientists grabbed his tablet and scanned the signal. "It's a live transmission," he shouted. "This isn't a memory. It's happening." Now, Mira turned to Ravi. "Ask it where this is?" Ravi looked at the cube and said clearly, "Where is this happening?" The cube pulsed again. A small map appeared in the air, showing several solar systems. One blinked red dot. The scientist gasped. "That's the Helios system, just outside our solar border." Ravi looked at Mira. "Are they coming here?" Before Mira could answer, the cube changed the image again. Da-da. It showed a line moving from the alien planet straight toward Earth. The message was clear. They were coming the next morning. Novacor held a private emergency meeting. Only the highest level staff were allowed. Ravi was invited too, sitting quietly at the end of the long glass table. Mira stood at the front. Behind her, a screen showed the alien ships moving slowly toward Earth. "We believe these ships are heading to our solar system," she said. "The cube warned us before the public could even know. We don't know their reason, but the last message was clear. Danger." One older man spoke up. "How do we know this isn't just a signal from the past?" Mira pointed at the cube's live coordinates. "Because the data is updating in real time. It's happening now." And the cube chose Ravi to hear it first. All eyes turned to Ravi. He felt nervous but stood up. "I don't know who they are," he said, "but I think the cube knows them. It's afraid. It showed me fear. I could feel it." "Feel it?" someone asked. "Yes," Ravi said. "It's not just a machine. It has feelings. Maybe it remembers what happened before." Another voice asked, "What should we do now?" Mira stepped forward. "We prepare. We warn others, but we also keep listening." The cube is not done speaking. Later that day, Ravi returned to the deep lab. He sat next to the cube again. "What else do you want to show me?" he asked softly. The cube began to glow. This time, the light was blue, calm, and smooth. A new image formed. It showed two figures standing together. One looked human. The other was tall, thin, with glowing skin. They stood side by side, touching hands. Then the voice returned. "Long ago, peace was offered, trust was given, then broken. War followed, destruction came." Ravi frowned. "You tried peace first," the cube pulsed, sad tone. "Filled the air. Yes, but greed took over. Machines were used for power. Many lives lost. A A flash of fire appeared in the image. Cities falling. Worlds burning. Then silence. Ravi sat still. Cube's memories were deep and full of pain. "But why show me this now?" he asked. The cube answered, "You gave without asking. Your world needs more like you, or history will repeat." Ravi felt a chill. This wasn't just a warning about war. It was a message about choices. The last time, someone had chosen greed over peace. Now Earth would face the same test. He stood and walked to the glass wall where Mira watched. "I think I understand," he told her. "The cube wants to stop what happened before. It's warning us early so we can choose the right path." Myra looked thoughtful. "Then we must act before others act out of fear." She turned to her team. "Contact the Space Council. Need to prepare Earth's defenses. But also send a message. Peaceful one," Ravi added. "We need to show them that we're not like the last ones. We're not here to take. We're here to understand." That night, as Ravi walked out of the building, he looked up at the sky. The stars looked peaceful, but he knew danger was hiding beyond them. He put his hands in his pockets and smiled slightly. He had come from a small repair shop now. He was Earth's connection to something far greater, and it all started with one small act of kindness. 1 week later, the sky above Earth was no longer quiet. Novacore's deep space scanners confirmed that a massive alien ship was now at the edge of the solar system. It did not send any message. It did not show signs of attack. But it moved slowly and steadily toward Earth. The world's leaders were nervous. People on the streets whispered rumors of invasion. Military forces began to prepare weapons, satellites, and emergency plans. News channels showed the alien ship in orbit, calling it the Silent Giant. But inside Novacore, Ravi sat quietly. Beside the glowing cube, he looked tired, but focused. It spent days learning from the cube. It continued to show him more images: wars, peace, fear, and finally hope. Mira entered the deep lab and placed a warm tea beside him. "Any change?" she asked. Ravi nodded. "The cube is calmer today. I think it knows they've arrived." Mira sat beside him. "The government wants to send warning shots. I told them not to. They'll listen to you," Ravi asked. "Maybe," Mira said. "But they'll listen more if the cube gives us a message." As if on cue, the cube began to glow. A soft green light filled the room. Symbols floated in the air, and then a clear image appeared. The alien ship, large and quiet, surrounded by stars. Then a word formed from light. "Open." Ravi stood. "They want to talk." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Are you sure?" Ravi nodded. "They're not here to fight. Not yet." The next day, Mira and Ravi stood inside a Novacore shuttle. It rose into the sky, cutting through clouds and passing Earth's atmosphere. With them were 2 scientists and a translator AI. The cube was secured in a glass case beside Ravi, still glowing softly. The shuttle approached the alien ship. It was huge, a floating city of silver and dark blue, shaped like a crescent moon. It didn't look like any design humans had ever created. It had no windows, no engines that anyone could see, and it made no sound. Yet it moved as if it was alive. The ship stopped moving as the shuttle drew near. A circular door on its surface slowly opened, forming a tunnel of light. The pilot looked back nervously. "It's inviting us in." Myra gave a nod. "Go." The shuttle entered the tunnel and landed on a smooth silver floor inside the ship. As the engines shut down, the door behind them closed quietly. No one spoke for a moment. Then, the cube in Ravi's case pulsed brightly. The door of the shuttle opened on its own. "Time to go," Ravi said. They stepped out. The inside of the alien ship was unlike anything on Earth. The walls were curved, the lights soft and changing color. Symbols floated in the air, moving like wind. There was no sound of machines, no footsteps, only silence. Then, a figure appeared, tall, graceful, and glowing faintly with blue light. Its body was thin, and its face was smooth, with no mouth or nose, only the gentle eyes. It wore no clothes, yet its form seemed royal, like a guardian of something ancient. The cube glowed brighter as the alien stepped forward. Ravi stepped forward too. The alien placed a hand on its chest. The light around it flickered. Then from nowhere, a voice spoke, not from its mouth, but from the air. "You carry the memory." Everyone looked at Ravi. He nodded slowly. "I don't understand everything, but the cube it shared with me." The alien tilted its head, then pointed. "At the cube you gave, not knowing, that is rare." Mira stepped beside Ravi. "Are you here in peace?" The alien turned to her. "We came with warning. Long ago we reached other stars. We shared knowledge. Some took it with greed. Some used it to destroy." "The cube chose again," Ravi asked. "Why now? Why Earth?" The alien walked slowly, then raised a hand. A hologram appeared in the air, many planets, systems, and destroyed worlds. One by one, they faded away, because Earth is next, but not by our hand, by your own. Mira frowned. "What do you mean? Your kind grows fast. Power without wisdom. Machines without soul." The cube woke. When kindness returned, Ravi looked down. The jacket. "Small act, big signal," the alien said. The room was silent. Then the alien added, "You must choose. Share what you learn. Or repeat the past. We do not force, we only warn." Mira turned to Ravi. "They want us to decide." Ravi looked at the cube. It pulsed softly. "They're not enemies. They're reminders of what we could become, good or bad." Later, back on Earth, the leaders of many nations gathered in a quiet room. Mira and Ravi stood before them. "They didn't attack us," Mira said. "They didn't ask for land or money. They gave us truth." Ravi added, "They came because someone helped without wanting anything. Changed everything." The leaders looked at each other. Some were afraid, some were silent. But slowly heads began to nod. Earth would listen. At least for now. In space, the alien ship stayed still, waiting, and the cube, once silent for centuries, now sang softly in the deep lab. Like a heart that had found its voice again. The first contact had not ended in war. It had begun with peace. The days that followed the first contact were full of tension. News of the alien ship had spread across the world. People everywhere were talking on the streets, in homes, in newsrooms. Some were afraid. Others were curious. Many were confused. Alien ship still floated silently above Earth. It made no threats. It did not move closer. It simply waited. Inside Novacore's deep lab, the cube continued to glow gently. It was no longer just a mystery. It had become a voice of warning and a guide for hope. Ravi sat beside it, feeling both nervous and calm. His life had changed more in 1 week than in all his years combined. Mira stood near the glass wall, reading reports from world leaders. "Some of them want to lock the cube away," she said. "Others want to study it in secret." Ravi looked up. "And some want to use it as a weapon, right?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes." Ravi stood. "Then they didn't hear the message. Or they don't believe it." She turned to him. "But you do." "I believe it because I saw it," he replied, "and I felt it. That cube, it feels pain. It remembers the destruction. And it doesn't want it to happen again." Myra sighed. "The aliens told us the truth. Now it's our turn to decide what we do with it." Ravi walked to the cube. "They said I should choose." Mira looked surprised. "You? The one who gave without asking?" Ravi reminded her. "They said, that person must choose." She didn't argue. She simply nodded. Later that day, the world leaders gathered once more, this time in a private hall deep inside Novacore. The room was quiet. The cube was placed at the center, glowing softly. Behind it stood Ravi and Myra. Ravi looked around. At the serious faces, presidents, generals, top scientists, waiting. He stepped forward. "I'm not like you," he said clearly. "I'm not a leader. I don't wear a uniform or have power. I fix broken things. That's what I do."
Oh.
No one spoke, but maybe that's why they picked me, he continued. "'Cause I didn't want anything when I gave my jacket. I just Saw someone who was cold. He looked at the cube. They showed me what happened before. How other worlds destroyed themselves. How machines were turned into weapons. How peace was broken by greed. Ravi paused, then turned back to the leaders. We're standing at the same crossroad now. We can choose to learn, to share, to grow together, or we can choose to hide, to fear, and to fight. A general stood up. What if they tricked us? What if this is just a test before invasion? Ravi nodded. Maybe, but that's a risk. We have to take, because if we answer fear with fear, we lose already. Mira added, they didn't come with weapons. They came with memory, gave us a gift. Another leader asked, and what do you choose, Ravi? Ravi looked around the room. He thought of his old shop, the people he worked with. The night he gave away his only warm jacket. I choose to share, he said. To share what we've learned, to open doors, not close them. That's the only way forward. Silence filled the hall. Then, one by one, the leaders began to nod. We agree, one said. We support it, said another. In the end, the choice was made. Earthwood. Answer peace with peace. That evening, as the sun set over the city, a signal was sent into space. A message created by Novacore and approved by all nations. It was simple. We are ready to learn. We welcome peace. Choose to walk together. The cube received the message and pulsed with golden light in the sky above. The alien ship glowed. Brighter. A line of lights moved across its surface. Then slowly it began to rise higher, turning away from Earth. It did not speak, did not fire. It simply drifted back into space, silent and calm. Ravi stood outside, looking up at it. They're leaving? He asked Mira. They said what they needed to, she replied. Now it's our turn to prove we listened. The next morning, the cube displayed something new. A map, not of danger, but of opportunity. It showed locations of hidden knowledge, ancient data left on distant planets. It marked points in space, where other peaceful civilizations had once lived, and where their technology still waited to be found. It was a treasure map, but not for gold, for wisdom. Ravi smiled. They gave us a gift. Mira nodded and trusted us with it. A month later, Novacore launched its first deep space ship based on the cube's designs. It was not a warship. It was a research vessel, filled with scientists, explorers, and peace ambassadors. And at the heart of the ship, beside the navigation system, sat the cube. Still glowing, still guiding, Ravi didn't go with the ship, stayed on Earth. He returned to a new version of his old job, still fixing things, but now teaching others too. Young minds who wanted to build, not destroy, Mira often visited. She never forgot the night at the bus stop. The jacket was still in her office, folded neatly on a chair, a reminder of how it all began. One evening she asked Ravi, "Do you regret giving it away?" He smiled, not for a second. That jacket warmed one person, but that moment warmed the world. 1 year later, the world was different. The skies were calm, and no alien ships floated above Earth. There had been no invasion, no war. Instead, there was understanding, there was learning, and there was hope. Novacore had become more than just a robotics company. It had become the center of peace and science. Nations no longer competed to build weapons, they competed to build knowledge. The cube, now known as the Light of Memory, continued to guide explorers to places filled with old wisdom from stars, long forgotten, and the one who had started it, all Ravi had returned to a quiet life. He still lived in the same part of the city, not far from his old robot repair shop. But now, people knew his name. Not because he was rich or famous or powerful, but because he made one choice, one kind act, that had changed everything, every day. Ravi walked to a small community center where he taught young students about machines, kindness, and choices. He didn't wear suits or fancy watches. He wore simple clothes and spoke in plain words. But when he spoke, people listened. One morning, a group of children surrounded him. "Sir, is it true?" one boy asked. "You gave your jacket to the CEO." Ravi smiled. "Yes, I did. but I didn't know she was the CEO. Why did you give it? A girl asked. She was cold, Ravi replied, and I had something that could help. The children nodded, their eyes wide with wonder. That same afternoon, Ravi visited Mira at Novacor. She was still CEO, but had changed how things worked. She spent less time in big meetings and more time helping communities, building schools, and starting peaceful research programs. They sat together in her office. The same jacket Ravi had given her was framed on the wall behind her desk. Below it, on a golden plate, were the words, "Kindness is stronger than power." Mira poured tea and smiled. Still teaching the little ones? Ravi nodded. They're smart. Some of them will go farther than I ever could. You went far enough, Mira said. You brought light to a dark path. Ravi looked at the framed jacket. Funny how something so small changed so much. It wasn't small, she said softly. It was everything. Later that year, Novacor opened a public museum called the Path of Peace. People from all over the world came to visit. There were displays about the alien message, the cube, and the journey of Earth toward a new future. At the center of the museum, in a clear case, stood two items, Ravi's old hoodie and the cube. Still glowing, gently a sign above them read, "It started with a jacket. It became a journey to the stars." Visitors stood quietly in front of the display. Many took pictures. Some cried. Others simply stood in silence, touched by the story. In the years that followed, Earth joined hands with other distant worlds. Peace stations were built in space. Languages were shared. Music, science, and stories moved between stars. But no matter how far humanity went, they always remembered where it began. Not with a ship, not with a weapon, but with a choice. A choice made on a cold evening at a broken bus stop. One clear night. Ravi stood on a rooftop, looking up at the stars. He could see one tiny dot moving slowly across the sky. It was one of the deep space ships. Returning home after finding another ancient world, Mira joined him, holding 2 cups of tea. Another successful mission, she said. Ravi took the tea and smiled. The stars don't seem so far anymore. They're still far, Mira replied. But now we have a bridge. They sipped their tea in silence. Then Mira looked at him. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you didn't offer? Your jacket that day, Ravi. Thought for a moment, I guess. None of this would have happened. But why did you really do it? She asked gently. No one else offered. Ravi smiled. I didn't think too much. She looked cold. I had something that could help, so I gave it. She laughed quietly. Simple as that. Sometimes. The best things are simple, he replied. Years later, when Ravi was much older, children still came to hear his story. Books were written about him. Schools were named after him, but he never called himself a hero. I just did what felt right, he would say. And sometimes that's more than enough. And so, the legacy of one act of kindness lived on. Across cities, across planets, across generations, and in the stars, the memory stayed alive. Because once a man gave his jacket to a stranger and unknowingly warmed the heart of a world.